Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the last show of the year, Makers and Movers podcast. How are you doing today, folks? I'll tell you, it's been a year, right? And a lot, a lot of things when we look back on it, you know, we may have. How's the best way to put it? I had a conversation this morning, like an early meeting with somebody that kind of threw me in a completely different path of thinking for the day. And we're going to talk about. I'm going to set up a show topic for that next week. And it's going to be about nobody caring about your business as much as you. Which is 100% factual. No employee will, nobody will as much as they care about you, or they say they do. They're not going to care about it as much as you. So yeah, that kinda made me reevaluate some of the stuff that we're looking at in '26 and how to make that better. But as we go through that, we were talking about the metrics of this year. As we close this year out, you start, reaching for those numbers, those revenue totals, those growth charts, those screenshots that really make things look, like clean and impressive and easy. But most of us know the truth that the numbers that mattered this year, they didn't always show up in a spreadsheet. They showed up in the late nights, those awkward conversations, the mistakes that you survived, and the moments when quitting felt tempting, but it didn't happen. Those are the real metrics. Those are what really matters. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Nobody brags about those, but everybody feels it. you know Jobs completed when you weren't sure if you had it in you, chaos handled without blowing everything up, confidence gained just quietly, just one decision at a time. And these things really did shape your business this year. So today that's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to compare timelines or flexing our revenue. We're closing the year honestly, and I think we're going to give credit due. Credit is actually due. So, with that, welcome, Makers and Movers podcast, last day of the year. It's your first time here, long time here, and you know who you are, where you're from, what's in your cup, and what the weather is like in your area. And then five things. What are five things that you are going to do today? I'm going to reevaluate my life decisions. That's what I'm going to do today. We've got we've got stuff to do. We've got orders to pull. We've got stuff to make sure that's posted up for it. Remember, there's a half day today for the TRW team, a half day today, and then they're not back in the office until Monday. We'll still be around. I'll still be pulling orders, commenting on posts, doing emails. Why? Because I care about the business more than anybody else, right? So we're going to do the things. As a business owner, there's not just time off for it. So we're going to push through and we're going to do it. We're going to get things scheduled up and we're going to take this time to get things done. Now, with that, let's check in and see how everybody is doing today. Barb, good morning to you. North of Minnesota, 9 and snowing. Hot tea in the cup. Shop closed until January 5th. I love that. I love that. But you're not really closed, are you? You're working on stuff. I know you are. Uh, Renee, good morning. 31, overcast there in Chicagoland. It's like a heat wave, right? Water in the bottle. Tea seeping. Tea seeping. I don't know if I can. I don't even know what that means. Like, doesn't Lipton just come in a bottle you open? Like, sun tea, it's too cold for sun tea. It freezes. I know you got these weird things and kettles, and I'm not there yet. Linda, good morning from a brisk 33 in Texas. Look at that. It is 33 there in Texas. What are we in Renee's at 31. What are we here? Are you telling us we might be warmer or pretty close to what Texas is? Let's look and see. I have got 35. It's warmer here than it is Texas. 35 feels like 28. Love that. But then she rubs it in by saying they'll be back up to 80 again on Friday. No, it won't be that for us. Iced tea in the cup. Morning, Renee and Linda. Morning, Renee and Barb from Linda. Morning, Linda. Hi, Renee and Linda. Hey, hey, from the sunny Space Coast there in Florida. Hey, Keith. Still sunny. Coffee in the cup. Very nice. I got the retro vibe sparkling sherbet slush from Celsius. This is probably one of my favorite ones for it. You got 44 degrees. Ooh, you guys, it's our little chilly. Gabriella, you are your afternoon, right? You're behind the sea. You're still not next year. You're still in 2025. Uh, Kim, good morning to you. Tim, good morning, all. How are you doing, my friend? What's up, Chuck? Good morning to you. Happy New Year's Eve to you. Happy New Year's Eve to you, to all, right? Yes, 2 days before Christmas, I sold my mother's house. I finished the year on a high note. Love it, love it, love it. Morning, Tim. Happy New Year's Eve, kids. From Jeff. Hello, all. Morning, Jeff. Barb. I look at the positive. Learn from 2026. People dwell too much on the negative in business, in my opinion. Learn from the issues in 2025. Move forward. Absolutely. Everything is a learning thing. Every step, every success, every failure, it's a learning experience. You learn from everything that you do. And while some will focus on negative and some will focus on positive, let's focus on what went right. Like how did things work? And that's we'll talk about some of that today and there. And with this, if you're not in Texas or Illinois, don't worry about it because we don't have to because currently we only need to worry about collecting taxes in Illinois and Florida. So that's the easy one for it. Enjoying yogurt. Ooh, Chesapeake, Virginia, 34. We're all right there with it. Jerry, Ohio's 30 in their degrees right there. Tea is an old people drink. Now listen, I will do a what's Jesus chicken call it? Where it's the half tea, half lemonade, because they won't call it, the Arnold Palmer, and then when you add the booze to it, the John Daly, they have Sunjoy. I think that's what they call it. Sunjoy is pretty good for that. Brian, good to see you again. Are you treading water? Are you out of the deep end? How's things going with you? Yep, deep cleaning the shop room by room, playing with the new Wilcom 2026 digitizing features. Hopefully, getting filament storage assembled. There, Barb's working on it. Five things for Bling Owl is celebrate my trademark application being approved. Very nice. End of year reports, cleaning studio, making transfers, and taking lots of training this week. Great week for it, right? The John Daly, right? That's what it is. You add that to it, pick your flavor and throw it in there with it. That's my preferred summertime drink. If you take a little lemonade and a little tea and maybe a little strawberry rum, you talk about some goodness going on. Just saying. All right. So as we get into this, we're gonna have some things. It's easy to forget how much work that you actually did finish this year because what sticks out louder than a success? Stress, right? You remember the pressure, you remember the deadlines, you remember the long days, but you seem to forget that you delivered. Right? Every completed job, it represents follow through. Even on days when you were tired, distracted, questioned everything that you did, you showed up. Those jobs completed, those mattered because they proved to you and your business consistency. Not necessarily perfection, but consistency. You know, you didn't need every order to be flawless for it to count. Things happened. You just needed to show up for it, right? You needed to problem solve. And you got things across the finish line when they needed to be done. That's the kind of reliability that real businesses are built on. Even those small orders count. It didn't have to be a 500 piece or a 5,000 piece order. One piece job. You know, the ones that really mattered were the ones that you finished on days when the motivation was gone, when the spark wasn't there, when you thought about giving up. You know, those endurance wins, they stacked up, and that's what got you here today. Now, when we look at this, some examples of it is, I talked to one maker who didn't feel successful this year, but when she actually realized that she shipped more orders out this year than she ever had done before, she's like, "Well, I did way better than what I thought." Another one, their biggest win was they stayed busy or stayed, excuse me, they stayed consistent even during the slow months. So when they were like, "Oh, what do we do?" They didn't have that last year, and that to them, huge win for it. So, you know, one of the things to look at for this is just estimate how many jobs that you did complete this past year. Acknowledge that number. That's a real number. You did that. You deserve the pat on the back for getting the jobs done, right? And number two, um, you know, mistakes survived. That's experience earned, my friends. All of us, every maker made mistakes this year. If you did not make a mistake, you're lying not only to us, but to yourself. Wrong sizes, missed details, shipping issues, miscommunications. We all had that happen, right? The metric that matters isn't whether, those mistakes happened, it's that you lived through them and you're here on the other side. What'd you do? You fixed what you could. You owned what you couldn't. And most importantly, you just kept going. You know, what do mistakes do? They force growth and change fast. They teach communication. They teach problem solving. And as hard it is, they teach emotional regulation in ways that wins never do. Right? Each one, expanded your capacity. Even if it felt awful in the moment. I lost count of the times that we screwed up this past year. Especially once we took over TRW and we were spread so thin on things fell through the cracks, things slipped through. People that I enjoyed talking to before, and when I seen their name pop up, I'm like, "What did we screw up?" Brian, I'm looking at you. No, Brian calls me for other reasons, but typically that's what we do. We start seeing like, what did we screw up? Instead of thinking that everything is going to be a joyful conversation, we start thinking, yep, here's what we screwed up today. Here's how we did it. For whatever reason, talked to Renee this morning. She sent me a screen cap. Things weren't looking the way they should on YouTube. Like, what a way to end the year. Things just happen. You know, the fact that, we're still standing here right now, you know what that means? That means that not one of those mistakes ended you or your business, right? They refined you. And that is not failure. That is earned experience. You know, and when we've talked to people about this, you know, one of the people said that, that they thought one big mistake would ruin their reputation. But in fact, the professionalism behind owning that mistake, it saved the relationship, and the company actually spent more last year than they had in the two previous years combined. Right? We learned from one messy interaction. We learned more in one messy interaction with the customer than we did from 10 smooth ones. So we know what those are. We can define them. Now is that your chance to do that, right? Can you name one mistake from this year that made you better, not just busier? I know we can do that quite a bit. All right, next one. Confidence gained. That is a silent upgrade because confidence it rarely shows up as a big moment. What does it do? It just sneaks quietly in through repetition. You're able to price jobs without rehearsing. You're able to say no without explaining yourself. You're trusting your gut and doing what needs to be done instead of asking five people for permission. If decisions felt easier this year, even just a little bit easier, you know what that is? That's growth. If you question yourself less, that's growth. If recovery time after stress got shorter, guess what? That's growth too. You know, confidence is one of the most valuable things that you've built, even if you didn't notice that it was happening. Now, this matters because confident confident business owners, they waste less energy. They move forward without spiraling. And that emotional efficiency, it really, really does change everything. So, as we go through this, ooh, that's a great comment. Sydney's all over. Let's just go ahead and put Sydney in timeout and ban, right? I didn't even notice that the comments weren't even on for this. You guys didn't even get to see that. Ooh, that wasn't any fun. Let's go to that. I said all kinds of fun stuff on there. Ooh. All right. Make sure. Why don't I turn the comments on? You guys didn't even, well, maybe some of you did, but most of you didn't get to see that there. We'll put comments on there. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Sydney, nobody cares. Yeah. Oh, man. I love, and this thing, like I said, go live. What can possibly go wrong if you go live besides amazing things like that? Some examples of this is, Maker just stopped apologizing for their pricing halfway through the year. Like, this is just it. Okay. Another one, trust their own systems instead of chasing the trends. This is what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to chase trends on stuff. So let's finish this sentence honestly. This year I trusted myself more when it came to blank. Right? What did you trust yourself more doing? All right. Let's get into the comments before we continue on. Remember, the show's nothing without you. I need you guys' interaction. Questions, comments, concerns. Put them in here for it. All right. Let's see. And if we go through, let's see. Nothing. Well, we already got that one for it. The tea, the deep cleaning, the celebration, the John Daly. Tea is life. Bite your tongue. Tea is life. That should be a shirt, Jerry. And, well, I'm the old people drinking tea. Brian says failures stand out the most. They absolutely do. Absolutely do. I can vividly remember failures. The big ones that we had this year. It stand out, makes me question everything. The success ones, there's $1,000 jobs that I know we did, but I don't remember delivery. I don't remember there. You give me the $500 failure. Remember that like it happened 4 minutes ago. And Jerry says, I need to talk more about what I've done in production. People forget about us and when they don't see us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Charlene, kind of, sort of something that we're working on. Not like on like here, you can just go on and purchase it, but it's something there we're doing for it. And Christine says, mine was events that should have been good, turned out to be failures. Ooh, man, that's a big one. I think we've all experienced that. In a lot of those events, oh, they're going to be a great. We've got X amount of people. We've got this. We've got that. Crickets. Or you're planning for it. It's an outdoor event. Storms. Like, what do you do with that? Right? What do we do with that? I know I haven't seen any on for a while too. That was pretty good. I'm down with that. So let's see how long we can get some more out there. Number 4, as we get back into this, you know, chaos handled. You know what that is? Emotional strength. I will tell you this. Chaos showed up this year. It always does. It always will. You know, supplier problems, last minute request, shipping errors, pulling order errors, trying to put processes in place that you didn't test first, tech failures, personal life colliding with work life, right? The win isn't avoiding chaos. It's how you handled it. So, you know, think about your reactions this year compared to last year. You know, did you pause instead of panicking? Did you communicate instead of disappearing? Did you let things go instead of trying to force miracles? Those shifts, those are massive, even if they didn't feel dramatic. Emotional regulation, it's tough, but it is one of the strongest indicators of business maturity. If fewer things wrecked you this year, take a break, take a breath, pat yourself on the back, clap your own hands. That matters a boatload. Definitely matters more than flashy wins. You know, for us, we handled quite a bit of our chaos calmly instead of spiraling. We took ownership of it, said, sorry, we screwed up. What do we need to do? And then that's what we just did. We turned down orders without feeling guilty. Just part of it. We can't do that. That's not going to fit into what our production timeline is. Sucks turning around money, but we just knew that our bandwidth was already low and we couldn't do those types of things. So for this, can you look back and, just identify one crazy, chaotic moment of 2025 that you handled better this year than you would have before? Yep. Now, we wrap this up. Number 5, pride does not require a receipt. Well, what the hell does that even mean, Todd? Well, I'm going to tell you, right? Not everything that you're proud of can be measured. You know, some wins, they don't come with numbers. They don't come with screenshots. They sure as hell don't come with, external validation. They come with relief. They come with peace. They come with stability. They come with not feeling burnt out. You know, you are allowed to be proud of things that didn't increase your revenue. You know, when we go through these, just think about it. You know, be proud of protecting your boundaries. Be proud of choosing, sustainability. You can be proud of not quitting when things felt heavy. All of those choices really did compound over time this year. Pride, pride does not need proof. If something mattered to you, it doesn't matter to what other people thought. It counts to you. How did it make you feel? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or does. At the end of the day, nobody's going to care about your business more than you. You need to care about your business. What does that mean? Well, what the hell are you talking about? Be prideful of it. Take pride in those things. You know, it could be as simple as I survived the holiday season. You know, it could be that you are recognized without being consumed by your entire business. Right? Well, what does that mean? Well, do people know me as Todd, or do they know me as Fat Dad? Do they know me as the Rhinestone World? Do they know us as a Level Up? They just know me as the guy who likes to run the smoker outside and grill out on the weekend. I don't allow it to consume everything that we do. Right? Be prideful of that. Now, when we look at this year, can you write down just one thing that you're proud of this year that has nothing to do with money? I guess I could say that we're proud that we bought TRW because it's cost us money and we haven't brought in any money from it. Does that work? Like, I think so. So, so to recap all this, these are the metrics that really do matter. You completed real work. You survived real mistakes. You gained real confidence. You handled real chaos. And you built something real. Even if it doesn't look impressive to others, you built something real. These are the metrics that matter. Those are the things that are going to last and give you a successful 26. So, as we head into the new year, we don't need to rewrite the story of 2025. We don't need to make it prettier or more impressive than what it is. Just need to tell the truth about it and let that truth be enough. We're not starting over next year. We're starting from experience that we learned this year. We're starting from the resilience of this year. We're starting from the lessons that we didn't ask for, but we learned anyway. And what does that do? That puts you in a stronger position than any clean Instagram, TikTok highlight reel ever could. So, tonight, when the year officially ends, don't measure it by numbers alone. Measure by who you became while you were building what you built. That to me is what the real win is. And that is what is really worth carrying forward. That is what we have for you today. I know it might have maybe a Debbie Downer episode, but you know, they said after a conversation I had this morning, I kind of had to redo and kind of think through some things. So let me know thoughts, comments, questions in the comments below. How about we end on like some high notes? Did everybody catch last night's show? We had some fun. Uh, things that we did. We did the chocolate is my Valentine. Yeah, chocolate is my Valentine, and that is in the fuchsia and mocha stones. This camera doesn't show it the greatest, but there's fuchsia pink in there. Maybe we can see it back there. Look at that. Oh, you know what? That's got a good little sparkle on it. I should probably. Hi, hi, friend. Hi, friend. We'll show that. So we showed this off. Remember, every Tuesday night, we do things like this, and so we created that. Well, the design is on the website. Jerry won the template, so as long as Jerry places an order in the next 13 days, we will send her the template of that. There's chocolate is my Valentine with the mocha and the fuchsia stones. The other thing that we did was we showcased a few stones. Next week's show, we are introducing 8 new colors of our premium stones. So that's what we're going to be working on during this downtime from here. And we'll have the names for them. We'll have everything there for it. They'll be available next week. But as you can see, these are our premium set stones. I need to bring my camera back up. So there. So I can have things. So look at that. Oof. The premium of those there. I had it just right where it was there with it, right? Because I moved it around. So we've got a pink and a gold right here with it. Oof. Oh, those look so good. And then we also have a blue. And total, we'll have 8 colors. So we will do a design with some. Look at that. We'll do a design with some of those next Tuesday. We will release those and do it out for it. So that way we can have some. Look at everything just bling back there. I really, you know what? I don't, I don't do that enough. Look at whatever else that we can make shine and sparkle, stuff from this year, stuff from up there. We got it all for it. So, mentorship community, we'll start that call in a half an hour, but I am open to see what we got going on for it. What else do we have from there? Let's see. Let's see as we go through this. Let's see. Christine, how could you change that outcome? I totally get those feelings. And was that from the show? Is that right there from the show that my event turned out? That could have been good, turned out and failed. So every event that we've been in some craptacular events. We've been in ones that look great and the storms rolled through and teared off. My goal for every event we do is not necessarily to make sales. I mean, sales are great, but it's to make connections. We've done more work with other vendors at shows by looking around and saying, "You have a table, and that's it. We can get you a banner, we can get you a wrap, we can get you a canopy, we can get you shirts, we can get you everything to make you look put together instead of just throwing it out of the back of the truck." So we can create a package for them for that. Is there any other cross promotions that we can do? So that's always my goal is to definitely talk to the vendors around us, next to us, on both sides, across away from us. That's our circle. Let's talk to those people for it. And then if it's really slow and there's nothing going on, let's walk out and see who else that we can talk to and meet and what we can do for them. So I always try at every event that we did to go and meet as many people as I could, the other vendors, because if you're having a bad show, the chances are they're having a bad show. So it was there for it. Let's see. Let's see. It works about buying TW if you leave off. We haven't made any money. We haven't. And that's like some people think like, oh, here you just bought a cash cow. We didn't. 100% didn't. We put a boatload into it and continue to put a boatload into it, and eventually it'll pay off. But when people think, we've had that. You have this, you have it. Hey, yeah, we've had it 6 months and neither I nor Corey, there has not been a dime pulled out of it, and we put everything back into it. So that's what we need to do to keep it afloat. We need to invest back in the business. We need to get back to core products. We needed to bring things in, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes that people didn't realize, and there's a lot that still needs to change. And so, 2026, so that's what we're going to work on. Uh, Let's see. I started a list of no events. No events that I'm not going to do. I love it. I've done the same. It's about larger venues, and that's the thing is not always do larger venues mean better business. Sometimes the larger venues mean less business because people have more selection. So what are we doing to set ourselves different from it? If we're the same, if we at a smaller venue, we're the only type of our vendor there, and we're the only type of art vendor there. At a larger one, there's 4 or 5 of us. What are we doing to separate ourselves from the pack to make people choose us over others? Jerry was there. She did win. Now she just needs to place an order for it. I like that. I do like that gold. That's going to be good in some St. Patrick's Day stuff. I'm really excited to see how it is from there. Uh, she has been doing an awesome job on the Hall of Fame, and that was one of the things that we had to change. Right? It was like where it was and what it was doing. We looked at it and we looked at where the numbers were from it. And I said, not everything has to be, a fiscal decision, but a lot of it does, for what it was getting spent out to produce it, to do everything. Does it make sense to carry it on? There's things that, we had to get rid of. There's things that most likely in 26 will change and get rid of. It's just if it doesn't make sense to do. We can't have in everybody's business. You can't continuously do things if it's going to lose money or not make money because where's the smartness in that? We know that there'll be products that you can lost leaders that you'll do, but the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, you still have bills to pay. Those bills aren't getting paid. You got to figure out what needs to be going on with it. So I'm really excited about what 2026 holds for us. They said one of the big things is expanding out on, our rhinestone lines, bringing in more premium products, condensing ones, getting rid of things that don't sell. We, have now had it 6 months and see that there are things that we've brought in that brought up we've never opened. So why would we ever carry that? We haven't sold it in 6 months, chances are it's just dead inventory sitting there. So, as we go into spring and start some closeouts on some things, there might be stuff where we're going to offer some amazing deals on stuff just to clear it out, to clear up that inventory space. We've got places that we are looking at for warehouse slash retail places. We'll see how those pan out for it. We've got new equipment that we're looking at bringing in. We've got new suppliers that we're looking to bring in. So 2026 is looking to be, quite a different year from 2025. And one thing to consider is our goals at the beginning of 2025 were completely flipped upside down halfway through the year because we did not have buying TRW on our bingo card when we started last year. So anything can happen throughout the year that changes the trajectory of your business. One product that you do could change your business. One new account that you get could change your business. So you don't have to be tied into these goals of this is what we need to do and this is how we need to do it. Be fluid. Things happen, things change. So that's what we got for you today. I think we ended this strong. What do you think? What'd you do? Did anybody take away from this? I want to hear, when we look at this and we look at wins from this, what was one thing that you were proud of this year that didn't necessarily show up in your bottom line or bank account? What was that one thing that really did? There could be lots for us. We made some great connections. We made some great new friends. We learned a lot about processes. We learned a lot about ourselves, and I was I was pleasantly happy with the results on that. We overcame a lot of obstacles. We were thrown into a lot of different things over this year that we did not anticipate, and we powered through it. I don't think there was a problem that came up that if there was a problem, we'll solve it, and that's what we did. So we're super proud of that, and we'll continue that going into next year. So if there are one of the things that I found out as far as core colors, pay attention to the crafting group, which in 26 that name's getting changed. That is on our schedule of things to do because I've talked to so many people that said, "Oh, I didn't realize that the Rhinestone World had a Facebook group because it's associated with TRW." And they're like, "What's TRW?" And we're like, "It's the Rhinestone World." I would have never thought that. So we need to update that so things are there. But we're going to find out what are your core colors, because we want to make sure, if we go through this and we want to bring in a color, and of the 50 people that respond, not one of them say that that's a core color of theirs, why are we bringing it in? Everything we're going to bring in, it's going to be limited quantities, probably 40 10 gross bags, 45 10 gross bags, somewhere right in there, just to try it out to see if it's going to make sense before we invest tens of thousands of dollars in inventory for stuff. So we'll sample things out, we'll bring things in, and like, here's the first three. There's the first three. I got a pink, a gold, a blue. I'm gonna get more videos, more things posted up next Tuesday. Tuesday with Todd, we're gonna launch those. So super excited about that. All right, with that, we're gonna let you guys get out of here. It's New Year's Eve. I know a lot of people not working, or you're working a half day, and you're taking tomorrow off. Football's on, snackies time's on. If you're one who partakes in adult beverages, do that. Hey, whatever you got to do. Once again, I want to thank you guys for supporting us throughout the year. We've had some ups and downs. You guys have been here through it all, and we'll continue to do that next year. So I'm looking forward to what each and every one of you can do next year. Thank you again so much for joining us. And until next time, peace, love, press on. We'll see you then.